Okay, so I've picked up many jobs growing up, but one thing I never expected to be was a girl's assistant. Like, I was an assistant. Can you imagine your parent walking up to me saying, "Oh, can you be my daughter's or son's assistant?" Yeah, never expected it. But obviously, before the story starts, make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And also, I am live on Kick streaming, telling crazy stories just like this live. But anyways, let's just jump straight into it. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to an insane story. So today's story takes place back when I was actually out of high school. I remember out of high school, I didn't become a YouTuber right away because obviously I didn't end up actually making this a job until like 2 years later. But I remember I was jumping job to job, and one time I worked at a construction site. I was working on a construction site, and I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty jacked. And me, I ended up gaining a lot of muscle, and I basically ended up getting more attractive than I am now. I will admit I lost a lot of weight, but that's because I sit on a computer all day, beating my meat and playing games. Okay, that sounds really sad. But going on, I remember what ended up happening is basically one time when I was working the construction site, I was doing the normal thing and moving some 2x4s to another part of the construction site. Until I remember when I was unloading it from the truck, I ended up seeing a guy with a really nice car walk up to me. He walked up to me and said, "Excuse me, how old are you?" "Oh, like, I'm 19, just out of high school," is what I told him. And he ended up telling me, "Well, how long have you been working here for?" I don't know, like a couple months. Why? What's up?" He ended up saying, "Well, how much do they pay you here?" Now, when he asked how much they paid me, I thought he was probably like another dude from another construction site, probably trying to hire me. So I ended up telling him, I don't know, like 20 bucks an hour. He looked at me and said, "What if I told you you can work with me for 50 bucks an hour?" 50 bucks an hour is what I told him. Now, $50 an hour is like crazy money that most people can't give. So I ended up looking at him laughing, saying, "Okay, dude, there's no way." And then that's when he told me, "No, there is a way. Do you know anything about being an assistant?" Now, when he said assistant, I thought like maybe an assistant to the construction site or something. So I ended up telling him, "Oh yeah, like I have a lot of experience." Why? Just so I can, you know, get this job that he was offering. And that's when he told me, here's my address on the card. Just take it and I'll meet you at my place tomorrow morning, 7. Don't show up for work here. Come straight to my place. I ended up looking at him and saying, "Oh, thanks." And I grabbed the card away from his hand and held it. But as I was holding it, I remember he looked at me one more time and told me, "Oh, by the way, wear a suit." "A suit?" is what I said. And then he walked away. I remember that day I ended up going home and I told my parents about what happened, and they said to maybe go check it out. And I remember when I read the business card, I was really confused because this guy's name was like apparently a really well-known name in my city. The next day, I remember I ended up basically going to my car and wearing a really nice suit that I wore for grad. And I basically ended up driving with my blue Toyota Celica all the way to his house. When I got there, I remember I looked around for the house, but honestly, I couldn't find it until I realized that it was gated by a super large white fancy gate. And when I saw this gate, I'm like, bro, there is no way he lives here. I remember the gate opened and I instantly saw that this house was like a mega mansion. Like a mega mansion. Like it's almost bigger than Drake's. Okay, it's not bigger than Drake's, but you guys get what I mean. It was insane. I remember I looked around and I started really realizing that people that are rich really have a good life. And from there, I ended up parking my car, getting out of it, and instantly, right as I got out of my car, I ended up seeing a basketball hit my hood of my car. I remember I saw it and I'm like, "Hey, like where'd the ball come from?" And that's when a kid walked up to me wearing a really preppy school uniform from like a private school. And he told me, "Oh, like, sorry. Oh, you must be the new assistant," is what he told me. Yeah, I'm looking for, this guy. I ended up basically telling him the name and he told me, "Oh, that's my dad. Here, I could show you where to go." He ended up grabbing like the sleeve of my jacket and dragging me to the front door. And when we went to the front door, I remember instantly the door opened and there he was. He looks at me and says, "Oh, I see you met my son." "Yeah, cool kid," is what I said. "So, am I gonna be your assistant?" is what I told him. And then that's when he said, "Oh, no. You're gonna be my kid's assistant." "Your kid's assistant?" is what I told him. And then that's when I told him that I wasn't a babysitter. Afterwards, he's like, "Oh, no, not him, her." I ended up looking around, seeing what he meant by her. And that's when I looked at this grand staircase that he had inside the house. And that's when I saw her come down. It was a girl that was wearing a really high-end like designer outfit. And she was walking down the stairs saying, "Oh, Dad, who's here now?" And that's when her dad said, "Oh, it's the new assistant that I hired for you." I remember this girl looked at me and just started smiling. I don't know why, but her eye contact with me was like scary because she would stare me down like a hawk. I didn't know what I was doing and I was really confused, but I ended up saying, "Oh, yeah, I'm your new assistant." Trying to play it cool so I don't look really dumb because I did tell this guy that I had experience. I remember from there, there, she instantly went inside her like purse that she had and ended up throwing me car keys to a Lamborghini and said, oh, okay, well, can you pull out the car? Like, we gotta go for a drive. Okay, is what I said. And from there, I ended up basically opening the garage door and I saw a bright blue Lamborghini just sitting there. I look at it and I unlocked the door, opened it, and I basically just waited. I waited outside the car door by, you know, the driver's side door. And when the girl walked out, I opened the door for her, but she didn't get in. She looked at me and said, what are you doing? Opening the door for you? Yeah, I know, but aren't you supposed to open the passenger door? The passenger door is what I said. And that's when she said, yeah, you're my assistant. You drive my car. Oh, okay. So I ended up opening the passenger side door, and then afterwards I got into the driver's seat of a Lamborghini and drove this girl around. Honestly, I will say this much, it was the best thing ever. I got to drive this girl everywhere. As we were driving though, I remember halfway through when we were listening to some music, I think we were listening to Kesha of all things, she ended up turning down the music and said, you're not like the other assistants. Where are you from and how old are you? Oh, I'm 19 and I worked at a construction site. Actually, I never actually been an assistant, but don't tell your dad that, please, is what I told her. And that's when she started laughing and saying, oh, you're cute. And then afterwards turned back up the music. She called me cute and I didn't know why, but I was kind of confused. Going on from there, I remember we ended up taking her to the mall. We had a good time and I'm not gonna lie. One thing I realized about this girl is that she was being really flirtatious with me. Like anywhere we went, she would grab my arm. She would basically get really close to me. And she even offered to buy me a couple things, which I did not take, by the way, because I didn't want her dad knowing that she was buying me things. But going on from there, I remember as me and this girl were walking around, I ended up seeing my ex-girlfriend at the mall, and this girl that I was assisting was with me. And I remember I ended up kind of panicking because you know that feeling when you see your ex somewhere and you just don't want to see them, but you start panicking? I had that feeling and I kind of froze. And I remember the girl that I was assisting looked at me and said, what's wrong? And she saw that I was staring at this girl and said, oh, like, do you like her or something? No, that's my ex-girlfriend, is what I told her. And that's when she ended up coming really close to me. And then my ex-girlfriend ended up seeing me be close to this girl. And what she did afterwards when my ex looked at me was this girl that I was with assisting ended up kissing me right in the mall in front of her. Wow, is what I said afterwards. What'd you do that for? And then that's when she said, oh, I just wanted to make her jealous. And then we ended up walking away and we actually ended up going straight back to the Lamborghini. And right as I got into the Lamborghini, my ex was at the door seeing me walk around with this girl. We basically ended up getting in the car and driving back home. I remember I was really just kind of weirded out that she kissed me, but at the same time, I didn't really know what to think. And then I remember when we got home, her dad wasn't home, and me and her, we ended up basically going up to her room, and I basically stood by the door waiting. I didn't enter the girl's room because, well, I didn't know if I was allowed to. And then one thing led to another. I remember this girl ended up looking at me saying, oh, like, can you get the shower ready? The shower is what I said? Yeah, like, go turn on the water. Don't be such a weirdo. And then instantly from there, I remember I went to the bathroom and saw this amazing, massive bathroom. Like, this thing was the highest quality bathroom I've ever seen in my life. Like, it even has those toilets that shoot up water. Isn't that like cool or what? Anyways, after I turned on the shower, I remember turning around and instantly right there, I saw the girl that I was assisting, the rich guy's daughter. And basically she was wearing a robe and that's it. Nothing else. She was just wearing a robe. I remember I looked at her saying, oh, sorry, I'll get out of here, is what I told her. And then she ended up saying, okay, if you want. And that's when she ended up taking off her robe and she was, well, not wearing anything in front of me. Like she was wearing nothing, not even underwear. I remember I looked at her and I'm like, okay. And one thing led to another. She ended up coming really close to me and kissing me again. And let's just say we ended up doing the devil's tango in the bathroom. Yeah, I'm not even joking. We did it in the bathroom. Out of all the places to do it in the mega mansion, we did it in the bathroom. Anyways, we ended up going in the shower as well. And I took a shower and so did she. And I remember after we finished the shower, I ended up getting my clothes on and I ended up basically walking out of the bathroom with her. And obviously I put on my suit, but my hair wasn't fully dried yet. And when me and her both walked out of the bathroom, her dad was outside the bathroom door and basically saw me and her walk out and I got fired. Yeah, I got fired out of a job for $50 an hour. And also, you know what's the worst part? He only paid me half. Okay, so in no way am I a thief, but this story story is about how I stole from basically a billionaire's daughter. Niggas are probably wondering, like, why would you do that? Stealing is not good. Stealing is illegal. And I will tell you guys how this went down. But also, before I do, make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe. You guys do enjoy these stories and want more crazy stories like this. And obviously, like I always say, let's get just straight into it. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to another crazy story. So this story is about something back when I was in actually high school. It was my last year of high school. I was in grade 12, and well, I was just the average student. Or at least people thought I was. I don't know, in high school, I was very insecure of some things, but at the same time, I wasn't that insecure. I kind of had that playboy look where I was like, you know, I was attractive, but I would deny I'm attractive, so girls would like me more. It's kind of a method I used to have, but anyways, going on. Back in high school, I remember there was this one girl that my friend was dating, and she was like an ultra million billionaire. Don't ask how I know this, but let's just say, like, her family was really rich. And I guess from a family being rich, she was a very privileged girl. And knowing my buddy was dating her was really cool. But at the same time, it did equal out because, well, I'm not gonna lie to you, they were both rich. Her boyfriend was rich, she was rich, you know, the whole family was rich. It just worked out. It was like one of those, like, you know, really weird movies where like the high school girl that's like the most popular in the movie, I guess, was like considered like the rich kid, if that makes sense in any way. But going on, I remember back when I was in high school, I remember going up to my buddy one time in the hallway and I'd asked him, I was like, oh, like, bro, like, how you doing? Like, what's going on? But he didn't seem like himself. Now, obviously, something was really off with him. I didn't know what, and obviously, you know, being the good friend I was, I asked him. I said, hey, bro, like, yo, is everything all right? Like, you feeling all right? Then he told me, dude, like, my girlfriend just broke up with me, and I don't know why. Like, I gave her everything. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know how, you know, a girl that has everything was able to give her everything. It just didn't make sense. And then I remember later on that day, I decided to walk away, and I decided to, you know, basically just, you know, maybe give him some distance, because obviously going through a breakup, I think one of the main things you do need is distance from everybody to kind of reconcile what went on. Going on though, I remember when I was basically to myself and hanging out, I saw his girlfriend, but his girlfriend was just normal. She didn't seem upset. She didn't seem mad. She just seemed herself. And I remember I went up to her and I was like, hey, like, I just heard about the breakup. I just want to say, like, you know, if there's anything you need, just tell me. Like, I feel bad. Now, usually his girlfriend would not talk to me because obviously they were dating and also I'm not rich, but she just told me, oh, like, he was just like the worst in bed. Like, honestly, like, he was just so like ungiving and he doesn't give me what I want. Like, he was just the worst. In my head, I literally thought there was no way this rich girl broke up with my buddy just because he was really bad at doing the devil's tango. And yeah, I walked away. You guys are probably wondering, oh, okay, so now we know who the rich girl is in the story, but what happens? Well, basically, I remember later on that week, my buddy came up to me one day and told me, bro, I'm like so upset. Like, I don't know what to do, man. And I thought he was talking about his breakup, but then he told me, like, I literally like gave her like a $200,000 ring, and I don't know what to do because like it was my mom's ring, but I stole it from her, and now my mom's looking for it, and I'm screwed. And in my head, I'm thinking, dude, there is no way you just gave a girl your mom's ring that is worth $200,000. It made no sense to me. But then he says, yeah, dude, and like she wouldn't let me near her house anymore. Nothing. Like I like we're broken up. Like I don't know what to do. And I told him, don't worry. Why? Because I had a plan. So I officially launched doing a heist, not a bank heist, not a, you know, a jewelry heist. Well, it kind of was a jewelry heist, but it was a basic robbery. Now, me telling the story, I could probably get arrested, but at the same time, probably not, because it was like Robin Hood, you know, like I give back to the poor. Well, he wasn't poor. Never mind. Anyways, going on. Me and him sat down in a classroom by ourselves and basically thought of a plan. And honestly, this plan worked. And as I tell the story, you guys will recognize this plan. So I advise you guys keep watching. I remember as like we were planning this, he told me, dude, do you think this is gonna work? I don't think this is gonna work. And to be honest, I don't really like the idea of you doing the devil's tango with my girlfriend. But I told him this would be the only way. And yes, I did tell him that. I'm not gonna lie, his girlfriend was pretty hot too. I think that was just a bonus in the mission, but going on. I remember one day she was going to a club, or a party, I should say. And when she went to that party, she only had like certain people join in, mostly her rich friends. And me, well, I'm not gonna lie, I can rock a suit. If you guys have ever seen my Instagram, you guys can know I can rock a pretty nice suit. And I remember I wore a suit and I got my suit and tie and all like, you know, dressed up, and I went to that party. Did I have an invite? No, but it was the only way I could actually get in contact with the girl. Now, I remember as I was about to head to the club or where the party was at, my friend told me that I could not drive my Silica there because she would automatically recognize that I was not rich. And obviously, we ended up going inside his garage at his house, and he ended up having an extra vehicle. But this was no ordinary vehicle. This was a classic Camaro, a really nice black classic Camaro. Honestly, I had to do it. I got in the car and I started driving it. And honestly, it was like I was living a dream. Knowing I was wearing a full-on suit and driving a really nice car, hell, I still do it to this day ever since I got my Jaguar. But going on, I remember when I got ready and stuff and I started heading there, I was panicking because obviously this was, I was doing a heist. I was literally gonna steal from a rich girl. But anyways, I got to the party and club, and when I got there, I saw her. She was all dressed up, looking really good. And honestly, I remember I walked up to her. At first, she didn't recognize me. She was like, sorry, did I invite you? And I look at her and I'm like, oh, no, you didn't. How you doing? As I went to shake her hand, I wore my dad's Rolex, and she instantly recognized it. She recognized the Rolex, but she didn't really recognize me because she kept looking at all, I guess, my outfit or how rich I looked. She started liking me, and I don't know how, but I remember I was basically talking through her the entire night and using, the $300 that my friend gave me to buy her drinks. We drank, we had a good time, and honestly, she invited me back to her place. First part of the mission, successful. How did I pull it off? I have no idea. Then after that, we kept talking, we kept, hanging out, and I remember when we went out of the club and, I put her in my car, she was shocked. She said, oh, like my ex-boyfriend's dad has like one of these. These are like really classic. Like this is really cool. Funny enough, it was actually her ex-boyfriend's dad's car. Honestly, it was kind of funny how she didn't recognize it, but I guess she was never in it. We went back to her place and we went inside this giant mansion. Now this house was huge. She was a millionaire for God's sakes. Like it was obvious. We went inside, her parents were already asleep, and we went to her room. I remember when we went inside her room, I was like, whoa, this place looks really cool. Can you give me like a little room tour? Saying as if I'd never seen a big room before. Actually, I haven't at this time. That's kind of sad. But going on, she gave me a little room tour. She showed me where everything was. From her really high-end shoes to her walk-in closet to her bathroom and a bathtub. Like she has a shower and a bathtub in like the same room. Like what? Let's just say she lived in a really nice place. I remember as I was looking around, I'm like, dude, where is this ring? We need to find this ring. But before I could find the ring, I remember she was like already kind of like getting on to me. And let's just say the only way I was actually gonna be able to spend the night is if I did the devil's tango. That way I would have enough time to look around, get the ring, and get it back. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's exactly what happened. I did the devil's tango with a millionaire's daughter. After that happened, I remember it was like 3 a.m. She was passed out beside me, but obviously I still needed to find the ring. So I remember I got my phone flashlight and I turned it on and I walked around her place in my boxers. I walked around her room looking for the ring. And honestly, I remember as she was giving me the room tour, her walk-in closet had like this like jewelry box. So I remember I went inside that closet and I opened that jewelry box and there it was. The $200,000 ring that my friend gave her. I remember taking the ring and I instantly hid it inside my pants pocket that was on the ground. I put it in there so when I woke up in the morning and put it on, I would just automatically have it. After that, I laid back in bed and then she woke up. She woke up out of nowhere and turned to me saying, is everything all right? I was like, oh yeah, everything's fine. I'm just chilling. And then she told me, honestly, like, this was really good. Like, you're so much better than my ex. And laid back down and slept. Honestly, I guess you could say I did the devil's tango to the point where she passed out. That sounds really bad. Actually, no, I did not do that. Oh my God. Anyways, going on. The next morning came by and I remember I got suited up and ready. But I remember as she like saw me like, getting suited up, let's just say, she recognized who I was. She looked at me saying, wait a minute, aren't you friends with my ex-boyfriend? And I looked at her saying, yeah, maybe. She looked at me and said, are you serious? Are you doing this behind his back? Oh my goodness, you are absolutely disgusting. She told me to get out and that's what I did. I got out, I went and got the Camaro, drove it back to his place, and everything kind of started connecting to her. She ended up calling her ex-boyfriend that I was friends with, like literally right after that whole situation happened, and I already left, thank God. And I remember they were just yelling back and forth on the phone, but as I dropped off the car, I remember him standing in the driveway waiting for me, and I gave him the ring, and I told him, mission accomplished. And I remember the words right after he said to me was, dude, you gotta teach me the ways of you doing the devil's tango, because she won't stop talking about it. I ended up getting into my car, the Silica, and I told him that's a story for another day. Same as this. Okay, so before anyone says anything, no, I am not actually a babysitter. You gotta understand, back when I was in high school, my parents wanted me to like get some form of job or certificate for something to be proud of, because my sister, like that was older than me, always had like participation awards. So let's just say I ended up getting my babysitter's license as like my own self-reward, and let's just say it ended up getting me into some very interesting situations. All right, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba, and welcome back to another insane story. So today's story takes place back when I was in high school. I was 16 years old, and I remember I was just basically like a basic junior in high school. And I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of things my parents wanted me to do growing up, and that was, become successful, gain awards, the typical parent stuff. So I remember what I decided to do was, go for my babysitter's license. Because there was always a girl in my class who was like always saying how like she makes so much money off babysitting and how it's so easy to get the license and stuff. So I remember I ended up taking a babysitter's course. When I told my parents about it, they were actually pretty surprised about it, but at the same time, they said that it would actually help out my future if I ever have a kid. And I already know if I ever have a kid, I'm naming it Yoda. But that's not the point. Going on though, I remember I ended up going to a church to basically get my babysitter's license. I have no idea why it's in a church. For the guy that says the word devil's tango me going into a church is pretty rare. Well, not really. I'm actually Christian, but that's not the point. I remember I ended ended up going to a church, and it was a really nice church, amen for that. And basically I ended up getting my babysitter's license. I remember I took like 3 different classes, and it was really fun and actually pretty enjoyable. And when it came to the final test, I remember I ended up walking out of there acing it like it was no problem. It was actually pretty easy. But then I realized, I remember when I was coming out of the babysitter's teaching place, aka the church, I ended up running into a guy in a suit. Now, I don't know why, he was just kind of standing outside the church, not entering in, so I thought maybe it was like some sinner that was scared to go in to confess his sins or whatever. But I remember he ended up walking up to me saying, "Hey, yo, excuse me, are you a babysitter?" Yeah. Because I was holding my certificate at the time, so I was able to say, yeah, I'm a babysitter. And then he ended up telling me, "Okay, well, I'll pay you $1,000 an hour to take care of my daughter." Oh, like, yeah, sure, I could do that, is what I told him afterwards. And apparently, like, this guy, like, when I started heading for the parking lot to get his card to call him later to get, like, basically the address of everything, he ended up having a really nice McLaren that he was driving. At this point, I was like, dude, what kind of dad has, like, a McLaren like this? Like, holy, this guy lives good, dude. So I remember I complimented him on his car, and I ended up getting his card for basically the babysitting job. And one thing led to another, he ended up leaving in his car. I remember a chick that was in my babysitter's class walked up to me saying, "Oh, like, he's still looking for a babysitter? That's so odd." And then ended up walking away. I was confused when she said that, and actually ended up running up to her saying, "Wait, what do you mean by that?" She ended up telling me that she had a daughter that was, well, a real brat, and that no one really wanted to babysit her. At that point, I was like, whatever. I'm a guy, maybe I can handle things better. I don't know, really sexist thought, but you know, it is what it is. Going on, I remember basically, I ended up going back home and getting on the phone, and I ended up calling him and asked him, when should I start? Because I do want to start babysitting to make money. Because $1,000 an hour for a high school student, that's like gold mine, dude. So I remember I ended up going for the phone and calling him, and when I did call him, he ended up telling me, "Oh yeah, so I live up in this address. If you want to come up anytime soon, go for it. Actually, I have a meeting tonight, so if you can take care of her tonight, that'll be awesome." Like, literally tonight is what I told him. And he's like, "Oh yeah, let's just tonight. Like, just pop up, babysitter, do what you gotta do, and then afterwards just dip." Oh, okay, is what I said. So I remember I ended up getting in my car and driving all the way over to his place. When I got there, I remember he had such a big house and was one of those like super modern homes that looked like a Minecraft square box. Like, it was super luxury. So I remember as I walked in, he was like looking at me saying, "Okay, so basically here's the kitchen. There's 2 living rooms. One of them's like a special living room for my guests, and the other one's just a friendly family living room, so you can go look at there. Upstairs is the bathroom. The daughter's room is upstairs to the left near the bathroom, and yeah, you should be set." When he told me that, I'm like, yeah, no problem, sir. And he ended up paying me $1,000 up front. I don't know why he paid it up front. Usually you pay the babysitter after, but he paid it up front like I needed it or something. I ended up saying thank you, and he ended up leaving in his car and driving away. At that point, I remember I was basically stuck there. I ended up sitting down, and I basically waited, and 2 minutes later, a girl ends up coming downstairs. Now, you guys are probably gonna think I'm insane, okay? Because the title of this video does seem really out of pocket, but I will say this much. The girl coming downstairs ended up saying, "Who are you?" And no joke, this girl, when I turned my head around, I was like, okay, there's gotta be another daughter. There's no way I'm babysitting this one. Because this girl was literally my age. She was 16 and went to a different school where all like the preppy kids go. Well, aka a private school, but you guys know what I mean. Like, I absolutely was mind boggled when I looked at her saying, "Oh, like, I'm the babysitter, I think, for your sister." She looks at me and says, "I don't have a sister. Are you like the new babysitter that's supposed to take care of me?" Yeah, is what I said afterwards. She ended up looking at me thinking, "Oh, okay, well, I mean, like, you're kind of cute. I guess I'll be nice to you." Wait, what? And then afterwards, I realized she ended up going for the door as if she was about to leave, and I told her, whoa, 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 where do you think you're going? I ended up closing the door on her and saying, "You can't just leave." She looked at me saying, "Excuse me, but you're not my dad, you're my babysitter. And honestly, like, how old are you? Like, the same age as me? Like, leave me alone." So she ended up trying to open the door, and I ended up slamming it again and saying, "Listen, you're not leaving. Your dad paid me. I don't want to do something wrong. You're under my supervision." When I said that, she looked at me, like, kind of like with a smirk and a smile. She's like, "Oh, so like, you're like really like hardcore babysitting, huh?" I guess is what I said afterwards, kind of like stuttering and confused of what the hell's going on. Then afterwards, I remember she kept looking at me saying, "Okay, well, like, I mean, whatever." And she ended up going back upstairs to her room. When she went upstairs to her room, I remember I really had to go to the bathroom like after like 10 minutes later. So I ended up going upstairs to the bathroom that was near her room. And when I was in there taking a fat one, I remember I heard like through the wall, because you know the walls are really thin in that house, basically that she was talking to some girl saying, "Oh my gosh, like, my babysitter's actually like pretty hot, but like I can't come to the party tonight. Like, just tell like Devin that I won't be there. But like, I'm not gonna lie, this babysitter might really kick it for me." Wait, what? Is what I thought. And I remember right at the moment I ended up plopping a giant fat, okay, you know what, that's not the point, but going on, I remember when I came out of the bathroom, she ended up coming out of her room and she looked at me kind of embarrassed as if I already knew what she just said to her friend. But I tried to play it cool and say, "Oh hey," and I ended up just going straight downstairs. When I went downstairs, she ended up following behind me and saying, "Oh, like, so do you like want to watch a movie?" Not really, is what I said. And I ended up sitting on the couch, laying back, and basically was on my phone. She looked at me again and said, "Okay, well, like, do you play any sports? Like, what school do you go to?" I told her the school I go to, and she was in shock. She was like, "Oh, like, weren't you the guy on the rugby team?" I am in the rugby team, yeah, is what I told her afterwards, because apparently she recognized me from rugby. Apparently our school versus hers, and I didn't even recognize her or something. anything, but apparently she was a cheerleader for the school, and one thing led to another. We ended up talking more and more, and I ended up asking her the main question that really freaked me out for this whole thing. Why does your dad want me babysit you? She ended up looking at me saying, oh, well, like, my dad, like, always knows, like, sneak out and stuff, so he always, like, try to hire, like, these, like, babysitters that, like, think they can control me, but, like, they just can't. They're, like, dumb. Okay. Why don't you just stay home then? Just relax. Like, don't you love being at home? Listen, when you have all the money in the world and your daddy gives it to you, the only fun thing to do is go out and spend it. And if I can't go out, what's the point of me staying at home? Okay, fair enough is what I ended up saying. And afterwards, she ended up giving me a tour of the house and stuff and the crazy pool that was in the backyard. And one thing led to another. We ended up going to her bedroom because apparently she had like one of these like cool TVs that came out of like this box, like machinerized. I don't know. It was super really cool. And I remember we ended up sitting on the bed watching a movie, and yeah, we kind of started cuddling, and one thing led to another. We ended up doing the Devil's Tango. I don't know. Let's just say like for babysitting, I was definitely sitting on something. Anyways, though, going on with the story, basically, we ended up doing the Devil's Tango. And I ended up hearing a really loud engine coming from outside of her balcony. And at that point, I knew, oh snap, her dad's home. So I ended up getting dressed and all ready, ran downstairs, and basically ended up sitting on the couch just waiting. And when he ended up walking through the door, he ended up coming in saying, hey, I just saw my daughter's light shut off. Is she going to bed? I looked at him all nervousness, like just shaking. My hair was a mess from doing the Devil's Tango. And I didn't know what to say. So I looked at him and said, she just went to bed. I'm almost done here. It was good working with you. And as I'm heading for the door, I remember he's like, wait. Let's go check on her. I'm like, okay. And as we were coming up the stairs, I remember he ended up telling me, yeah, she likes to sneak out a lot. I didn't tell you. I apologize. If she snuck out right now, I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, really? Is what I said. And then right as we go through the door, the lights were shut off, and instantly he quickly like took a glance with his flashlight, and he saw his daughter was dead asleep on the bed with a blanket over her, kind of just instantly just being really tired. I remember I looked and I was like, what? Like, she's actually asleep? In my mind, I was thinking that. But then I remember her dad ended up looking at me saying, for the first time, I'm not gonna lie, you actually did a good job babysitting. He ended up basically giving me another like extra $500 for being a good babysitter for the first time, and I ended up leaving. At that point, as I was leaving, I remember I ended up like basically got in my car, and I saw her in the balcony waving goodbye to me. All I'm gonna say is that this was a mission success, but I'm not gonna lie, there is another story where basically I did get caught, and with a guy with a lot of money, you don't want to mess up with those guys. Anyways, guys, that's basically it for today's video. Make sure you guys do follow me on kick.com in the link down below, and like I always say, follow for more embarrassing stories. All right, peace out, guys.